Good afternoon, everyone. It's so nice to see you on here today, huh? A brief introduction. My name is Nguyễn Xuân Minh. I'm a IELTS teacher for more than 10 years now. And currently I'm a staff of the foreign language department of Open University. Okay. Just wait a bit for more people to come. In the meantime, do you have any specific questions that you want to raise when you attend this workshop? Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. Do you have any questions? General question or specific questions that you want to ask about IELTS writing in general and IELTS writing task 1 in particular? Okay, so if you don't have any questions, could you write into the chat box for me whether or not you have taken the IELTS test? If you have taken the IELTS test already, write yes. Unless, write no. Type into the chat box. It's good for us to test out the function of the test chat box as well, because later on, if you have any questions, you can type in there for me, and I will collect your question and put into a file match with the content that I shared today to see if any relevance to my content at any sections. I will stop and answer your questions right away. So you may have many different questions related to many different parts of my presentation today. So I would just have to classify them and answer them according to the flow of the workshop today. I just received two answers. You can send the answers to me privately. You don't have to send it to everyone. If you want to keep your anonymity somehow. But don't worry, if you send it to me, I don't know who you are. And I think that we haven't met before. Some of you may be my students, but I'm not sure because I haven't taught the classes for English major students in Open University. I just do so in Tôn Đức Thắng Uni. So some of the students in Tôn Đức Thắng will know me, but not the students from English major of Ho Chi Minh City Open University. Anyone else who has taken the tests, you can write in yes for me in the chat box, please. Just for testing that you know how to use the chat box, and also for me to know to which level of information transfer that I need to do today, or how slowly should I do the workshop, or how quickly should I administer it, or else I will go with a speed that is too overwhelming for you or too boring for you. Okay, so I need to know your level of experience of the test yet before I conduct the workshop. And this workshop is done via Zoom, and this is recorded. We will have the videos afterwards. So if you want to have a look back, then there will be still videos for you to review. Okay, so make sure that once you are here, you post the questions to get the answer. That's the most important thing for you to have a physical attendance in this workshop rather than passively watch the videos later on. Các bạn muốn thầy nói tiếng Anh hay tiếng Việt mấy bạn? Linh English. What about others? Và tại vì thầy không biết là cái thành phần tham dự của chúng ta là chủ yếu là tiếng Anh hay tiếng Việt ấy. Cho nên là mấy bạn cho thầy biết là mấy bạn muốn nói tiếng Anh hay tiếng Việt. Tiếng nào cũng được, Kiều Diễm. Nhưng mà đều sợ. Ok, both. Có bạn kêu là both. Thế thì thầy nói tiếng Anh trước ha. Xong chỗ nào mà thấy thôi mấy bạn chủ động đi nha, thầy nói tiếng Anh. Mấy bạn chủ động chỗ nào mà mấy bạn thấy mà muốn nói lại bằng tiếng Việt thì mấy bạn cứ mở mic lên nha, sau nói dạ thưa thầy cho thầy nói lại giùm em bằng tiếng Việt ngay chỗ thầy đang nói luôn, cắt lời thầy luôn nha. Ok, thầy sẽ nói bằng tiếng Anh. Mấy bạn cứ thoải mái cắt thầy ngay chỗ đó, rồi thầy sẽ nói lại bằng tiếng Việt cho mấy bạn cho nó nhanh ha mấy bạn, chứ còn không có giơ tay rồi không có text vô bên chat box thì thầy sẽ không theo dõi được nha. Thầy đang tập trung thì thầy chia sẻ, thầy không có theo dõi được trong chat box. Okay, I think it's time for us to move straight into the workshop. Let me share with you the slides. Let's see all the it is. Okay, so we go through the problems and solutions in Ielts writing test 1, and we select the most prominent problems and try to address the solution for them. So as you know, writing test 1 has 3 types of question. First is a chart and graph description. The second is a diagram description, and the third one is map description. Right? So for chart and graph description, we have so far I've seen that which appeared, the task appear in the writing test has 6 types of charts: the pie charts, line charts, the bar graph, table, wedge shape graph, and stack bar graph. Okay, 6 types altogether. You may know the 4 very popular types: bar, line, pie, and table already, but you may not be familiar with wedge, shape graph, and stacked bar graph. Okay, you may not be familiar with this. Biểu đồ cột chồng. and biểu đồ hình miền. Okay, those are two very recent tasks that appear in writing task 1. And for diagram, we will have like flow charts, or we will have a diagram that has a lot of illustrations, the pictures of the peoples, of the animals, pictures of the ships in relationship with each other. Okay, so we do not have the very simple flow charts that are formed with boxes and arrows only. We have much more illustrative diagrams, depending on the purpose of the diagram. And the maps, for maps, we will have some types. The first is the map describing the change of the place from one time to another, or there will be some different times in the timeline, 5 different periods of time, for example, in 1 or 2 even centuries. Okay, and then you have to describe those 5 or 6 maps to see the changes in the geographical area, in the configuration of the use of the land in the map, or the development of some sections of the area, stuff like that. So the change of one place from one time to another is the first type of map description. The second type is the proposal for construction of something. So they will give a map of a location, of a city, a town, and then they propose 2 or 3 sites for building up a shopping mall, for example. So you gotta analyze the conditions and the locations and the whereabouts of those 2 or 3 locations to figure out which one's the best to build a shopping mall. Okay, so you overview the final part of your essay. The overview will be your conclusion about what is the best location for the construction. Okay, so that's the second type of map description. And the third type of map description is the projection for the future developments. It's not a projection, it's a plan for future development of the place. So we have the current plan of one place and the future plan for that place, for expansion, for redevelopment or relocation of some stuff, something like that. So we have the current plan and the future plan for a place. Just go through the different types of chart and map description. So if you break them down into like bar graph description, line chart description, pie charts, table, wedge shape graph, stack bar graph, flow charts with only box and arrows, and processes, or which has very simple arrows pointing from one picture to another, not very complicated relationship. And then 3 types of maps. So we have 11 types of questions in task 1 writing of Ielts. But I treat them as only 3 main types. 3 main types can be broken down to 11 small subtypes. Okay. Now we go to the problems and solutions of writing task 1. Let me go back to the share screen to the slides. Okay. So what are your problems in IELTS writing task 1? Would you go to mentimeter.com, go to mentimeter.com and insert this code. Type your answer there. Okay, I'm gonna get back to wait a minute. I'm gonna get back to Mentimeter to turn on the presentation slide there for you to insert your answer. Right. Okay. I think I'm going to share the screen with you. Okay, here it is. You go to menti.com only, and then insert this code and answer the question for me, please. You got to input your answer and send it. This is just the beginning, so I would like you to do this fast so that we can save time for other more important parts. I just want to have a quick look, an overview of what kind of problems you usually encounter in Ielts writing task 1. Sorry. Okay. Choosing the striking features. It's hard. Wow. Mm. Hmm. Hmm. Very practical problems. They are all very classic answers, classic problems. We've got only 10 answers. We have 53, 54 of you here. Could I have more answers from you so that I can know? So for example, for this, you identify the problem of not knowing which information to report and which you should ignore, right? So that part is not shared. I do not intend to share that part in this presentation, in this workshop. But if you raise a question here, I will share it with you. Okay, so you got to identify the problems. If there is anything that is out of the scope and it's not included in this workshop, I will add more in. Hmm. Okay, I will stop at 20. So far we have got 17 responses. I need 3 more, and I will move on. So far, the problem just concentrates on just gather around problems of timing, not having enough time to write, and then having problems of organizing ideas, selecting and organizing ideas in your writing. Okay. One more person. Grammar, organized structure, overview. Okay, overview. Paraphrases. Okay, 20 of you, 21 of you have sent the response already. Main points of the graph. So what is outstanding from your answers is the selection of the striking features to describe. You do not know which one you should tag in, which one you should leave out. And the second one is you do not have enough time to write. Okay. As for grammar and the how to gain high score, quite general, and it should be broken down into many small factors and many small components. Like grammar, what kind of grammar is that? Compare contrast. Is that the comparisons structures? Is that the linking words? Is that the subject verb agreement? Is that the tenses? You got to break it down. Is that a sentence mistake? Is that punctuation mistakes? Okay, so far I know what you have problems with. So it's give me a hint on what to share next. The sharing of today will include something that you may not think of. Okay, it will be very beneficial. So let's go straight into the problems. So you have the misunderstanding of data, and it leads you to wrong subjects and verb for sentences. And when the two most important components of the sentence, the subject and verbs, are incorrect, then the whole sentence is nonsense, right? A lot of you write nonsense sentences and you don't recognize it. Even when I have a test for my students in a language center, 90% of them got wrong subject and verbs. For me to read those sentences, it means nothing. You know? So they write something they think that it sounds okay, it sounds acceptable, but when even they themselves translate it into Vietnamese, they don't understand anything. Okay, so that is misunderstanding of data that leads to the wrong subject and verb combination for sentences. The second problem is incorrect insertion of numbers. You may choose to have a very convenient insertion of numbers. You write the whole sentence and then you put an at the end. At how many, with how many, and then you finish the sentence, which is sometimes right, sometimes wrong, right? What is the key point? Insertion of correct numbers. And then writing incorrect overviews. This is severe, right? A lot of you have this problem. Even for very experienced writers, sometimes they can't see the overview of the graph. And then improper time management and low writing fluency. So you raise questions about writing incorrect overviews and then lacking time to write, but there will be some three main problems that you are not very well informed of. Is the misunderstanding of data, incorrect insertion of numbers, and low writing fluency. Okay, now we go through the problems one by one. The first one, Okay, so this is the misunderstanding of the data and that leads to wrong subject and verb combination. Hiểu sai cái đề bài cho nên viết chủ ngữ và động từ là không ăn khớp với nhau và nó không có thể hiện được thông tin của bài. That's the problem. Here is the question of task 1. The charts below show the results of a survey on happiness ratings for married and unmarried people in the US and the effect of children on overall ratings of married couples. Những cái biểu đồ dưới đây cho thấy cái kết quả của một cái điều tra về tỷ lệ hạnh phúc của những cặp mà đã có vợ chồng và những người mà còn độc thân ở nước Mỹ và cái ảnh hưởng của con cái trên cái tổng lựa chọn của họ, tổng số lựa chọn trong câu trả lời của họ cho những cặp mà đã lấy nhau. Tại dịch ra như vậy và chúng ta có cái we have the questions here. Now you go back to menti.com, I'm sorry, menti.com and still use the same code. Okay. The chart shows the result of a survey. There are more than one chart, but I just cut a half of the task to give you. The result of the survey on happiness ratings for married and unmarried people in the US and the effect of children on overall ratings of married couples. So this is the effect of children on overall ratings of married couples. Okay. You go to Mentimeter and you insert your answer for me, please. Go to menti.com and still use this code and answer the question for me, please. What does the number 44 here in the bar graph mean? What does it mean? Write a full sentence to answer what does number 44 mean? Nó nói về ảnh hưởng của con cái trên cái đánh giá của các cặp đôi đã lấy nhau về hạnh phúc. Only 2 of you have got the answer. I need to see around 15, 20 answers before I move on. Give me more answers, please. Only 3 of you sent your answers to me. I need 15 to 20. Số 44 có nghĩa là gì? Write full sentence. Số 4 đây nè. Belongs to the blue bar. Rồi guys. Mấy bạn lên Menti Meter, thầy đã giấu hết cái câu trả lời để cho các bạn lên đó, để các bạn không nhìn thấy câu trả lời của nhau, bị ảnh hưởng lẫn nhau. Mà bây giờ các bạn lại gửi vào trong to everyone như vậy là trật lất rồi đó. Lên menti.com á, insert cái câu đó vào. Đừng có gửi trong chat box. Các bạn muốn gửi cái gì thì gửi privately cho thầy ha, gửi privately để cái câu trả lời của mình nó đừng ảnh hưởng đến người khác á. Sợ rồi mọi người xem cái câu trả lời của mình là bị theo mình hay là cái gì đó thì nó không có phản ánh đúng cái thực trạng nữa. Đấy. I still love to see your answers here in menti.com. Okay, it takes you long. 12 of you have sent the answers already. So let me see. Can I show this? Let me try to get the result out. Okay, here it is. Here's what you have for number 44. The percentage of married couple with children under 18 is 44. I'm sorry, it's wrong. The happiness rating of married couple who have children under 18 is unclear. The percentage of happiness rating from married couple that affect children under 18, wrong. 44% of children under 18 feel happy, wrong. Happiness level of married couple who have children under 18 years old, yes, but unclear. On average, the happiness rating of marriage couple with children under 18 is 44%. On average, the happiness rating of unclear, still unclear. Married couples who have children under 18 are happy or not? I'm not sure, but that's not what we're looking for when we indicate the specific number of 44%. It's not acceptable. The percentage of happiness rating of married couples with children under 18 is 44%. Okay. Unclear. 44 happy couples who have children under 18 is wrong. So all of the writing here are either unclear or wrong. None of them is clear enough. Okay, and the answer should be 44% of married couples with children under 18 claim that they were happy. Okay, that's the percentage of the people in that with that condition. 44% of them claim that they are happy. Okay, so that's very clear subjects. This percentage of whom? Of married couple with children under 18. Okay. And what do these people do? They claim that they are happy. They claim that they were happy. Okay. 44% of them voted in the survey that they were happy. So that is the main information. Once you haven't got that, whatever you write is so vague, so secluded, and so ambiguous. And when you start your first sentence with such an ambiguous sentence, then the rest of your writing is so vague, so unclear. No? So we gotta have a very correct and very clear subject and verb for the very first sentence in your body paragraph of task 1. If that first sentence is unclear, the rest is hard to understand. Okay. So that's an example to show you how important it is to identify the correct information before you start writing, or else you may be off the track. You write something that you believe to be right, it's completely off the topic, you know. So this is another survey, another Mentimeter survey that I did in my class, and you see they have the same problems with you. See, they even interpret it in the way that the percentage of the married couples under 18 live happily. This is so completely out of context. Okay, so that's really hard, really subtle. That there is very thin line between right and wrong in here. And obviously, this is a hard question, but you do not know in the test, you will see a hard or an easy question. On a lucky day, you'll find it very familiar with you, but on a rainy, stormy days, maybe you have to cry and walking out of the exam room because you do so well in other tests, but you have this one problem in task one, it ruined the whole test. Okay.
Excuse me, teacher. Can I have a request?
Yeah. Say it, please.
Can you help me to make the sentence that you said it is not it is unclear? Like, can you help me to make it clear?
Okay. Now let's come back.
Thank you.
Let's come back to the slide, to the screen of Mentimeter. Where is it? Downloaded it. I gotta download again. Okay, here it is. Now, the percentage of married couples with children under 18 who felt happy was 44. Okay. The percentage of married couple with children under 18 who felt happy was 44. It's much clearer. Now, the happiness rating of married couple who have children under 18, actually, this is not a good start. You can't just generalize everything into the happiness rating. What do you mean by happiness rating? And do the people give you a survey and ask you, are you happy or not happy? Or they give you a survey and which has the rating scales. Please rate from 0 to 10 your happiness level. Okay, you are happy in level 4, you are level 5, level 6, or what? Okay, so happiness rating here is very vague word, the right. You do not know that it's a binary scale, whether you check in yes or no, or it's a 10 level scale where you have to choose your appropriate, your equivalent scales of happiness. So we don't have the happiness rating as the main word for the subjects. It's ambiguous. Next, the percentage of happiness ratings from married couple that affect children completely, my gosh, I can't correct this one. So messy here. 44%, oh, it's wrong also over here too. Happiness level of married couple who have, no, it's wrong. When you say the happiness level, it means level 1 to 10, and okay, they chose level 5, they chose level 7, but here they chose in the percentage. So it's not the level, it's the how many percent of people with that condition, married, having children under 18, felt happy. How many percent of them felt happy? 44% of them felt happy. Okay, so these are also the same. Happiness rating is a very vague word, the umbrella term, which can be understood in different ways. So you should write it here. Does it answer your question?
Can you list some subjects that we can use in this case? Because we need to change the subject. Like, I think we need to have many kind of like paraphrase the subject.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The percentage of couples, married couples. Having with children. under 18 who voted to be P was 44%. Okay, that's the second sentence. We come up with the third one. Among married couples who had children under 18, 44% claim, assert that they were blissful, example. Okay. What else? What else can we have? Having children under 18 did not stop 44% of married couples from enjoying their happiness. Okay, stuff like that. Enjoying stuff like that, guys. So you have different ways. We'll come to this later. The second part of this first problem, we have to deal with subject and verb combinations, brainstorming, so that you can come up to different synonymous expressions. You can vary in your structures and your subject verb combination in the sentences to avoid repetition in your writing. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, we come to the next one. You will have a chance to write more in the next one. The next part. Go to the next slide. This is gonna be really long, guys. We need to hurry up unless we can't meet the time, the duration. So the solution for this problem is always ask what question about the numbers in not only the numbers, but also about the items in the charts. So we have, what does number 90 mean? Or you've just asked, what does number 44 means? Now you ask, what does number 90 mean? What does the word other in the chart mean? What does the word car in the chart mean? Okay, you ask about what questions for not only for numbers, but also for the key terms in the charts. Now we go to this. Okay. We have the table below shows. Are you with me? Do you see the table, guys? Do you see the table?
Yes.
Okay, good. I gotta check. Sometimes I talk about something and then things that appear on my screen will be different from things that I share with you. So sometimes I talk about something that's completely irrelevant because you are looking at a different screen. Okay? Sometimes I check and I gotta get your response quickly so that you can move on. Huh? Supposing that we have been working on this table, which has the information about traveling to work in one US city. So you got when you meet this table, you don't write anything first. You got to ask what question first. What does number 24 mean? What does car mean? What does car one person mean? What does car more than one person mean? What does cycle walk mean? What does average distance miles mean? What does average speed mean? What does 10 cycle and 3 walk mean? Okay, you got to ask those what questions. Now you complete the following sentences describing the distance of cars carrying more than one person. And we know that cars carrying more than one person goes 24 miles, right? Now have a look. Cars more than one person means cars carrying more than one person. And travels the average distance of 24 miles. Okay. But now, as your friend suggests us that we should have the synonymous expressions, we should know the paraphrasing of this sentence for use to avoid repetition in our writing. That's why now in the preparation stage, before we write, after we ask what question, we need to do the second step. It is giving as many paraphrasing, as many synonymous sentences as possible about one number, so that later on we can just replace the subject and the verb and the number, and we can write another different sentence with a different structure to avoid repetition in structure. Mình hiện tại mình xác định xong những con số này, những cái chữ, những cái từ này nghĩa là gì rồi, thì mình làm bước thứ hai là viết đồng nghĩa, viết những cái cụm, những cái câu đồng nghĩa để mô tả cái con số này. Giống như hồi nãy mình viết con số 44 đúng không? Thì giờ mình viết con số 24. Để làm chi? Để tí nữa là mình viết qua số 42 đi ha. Thì mình viết được 3 cấu trúc của con số 24 này. Thì tí nữa mà viết qua số 42 thì mình có lấy cấu trúc thứ hai mình dùng cho số 42, rồi lấy cấu trúc thứ ba mình dùng cho con số 4 này, rồi xong quay lại cấu trúc 1 đầu tiên mình dùng cho con số 23 này, ví dụ vậy ha. Thì cấu trúc của mình sẽ đi là cấu trúc 1, câu thứ nhất, cấu trúc 2, câu thứ hai, cấu trúc 3, câu thứ ba, cấu trúc 1, câu thứ 4, cấu trúc 3, câu thứ hai, cấu trúc 2, câu thứ 5 chẳng hạn ha. Thì mình vary, mình alternate cái cấu trúc như vậy, là các bạn đọc từ câu này qua câu kia là there is no repetition. Nhưng mà you have to work hard on this and make sure that you do it by shorthand writing. Shorthand, dùng viết tốc ký chứ không có phải mà nắn nót đâu nha mấy bạn. Viết cực kỳ nhanh và dùng 3 dots. You use 3 dots. So in order for you to be able to vary your structures and have the development of your paraphrasing skill, now I put you to a challenge for you to complete these sentences in 4 different ways. You know that cars carrying more than one person could travel 24 miles on average. Okay, so write into the space with the appropriate words, verbs, and subject and objects, so that it can complete the sentences. 4 sentences here mean the same thing. Could anyone, instead of writing, which takes a lot of time, could anyone just speak out a sentence for me, please? I will make an example for you. The cars carrying more than one person travel the greatest distance of 24 miles. What about sentence 2? cái xe mà người ta lái chỉ có một mình người ta lái trong đó thôi á, là nó đi được quãng đường xa nhất trong toàn bộ biểu đồ. Quãng đường đó là 24 dặm. Thì how can you write the second sentence? Please talk to me so that you can move on quickly. No one? Okay, we move on. We move on because we can't afford the time for waiting. If you have it available, you got to talk to me right now, that you can move on. I give you 30 more seconds, and then we have to move on. Okay, let me review the answer. Somebody chat. I can't chat the chat box all the time, guys. Here, the greatest distance 24 miles is traveled by cars carrying more than one person. Or 24 miles is the greatest distance covered by cars carrying more than one person. Or people sharing cars to commute to work. Sharing cars, more than one person means you share your cars. Drive the greatest distance of 24 miles on average. Okay. So you have 4 different ways to write one sentence. So you can use the first structure for the first sentence, the second structure, and you replace the numbers and the subjects. And you change a bit of information. You have the second structure used for another sentence, which is different from the first one. Repetition is made from the overuse of the same subject and verb. So if you can change the subject and verb, you can avoid repetition. Okay. Done. So here is an illustration of data understanding. You ask what question and you paraphrase the sentences, and how the what questions are asked and how the sentences are paraphrased. You should watch this clip. I made this clip some years ago, maybe 2 years ago. I posted on my websites. So I'd like you to have a look. Understanding data, here it is.
Teacher,
What's that?
we cannot see the video. We just hear the sound.
What is that? Okay, how about now?
Okay.
See, sometimes I'm not aware what I show you, what I share with you. Thank you for informing. Okay, stuff like that. So we ask what question, and after that we will write the synonymous sentences. We use paraphrasing to write as many sentences about the number as possible. Okay. So that is a demonstration. Where are we? I need to turn off one PowerPoint slide. So the two are running parallel to each other. Oops. So far, do you have any questions, guys? No? Okay, that's good. Move on to the second problem. But before that, let's wrap up with the what benefits that we've got from doing those preparation before we write. It helps to understand data better. When we ask what question, we understand data correctly. And because we understand it correctly, we can select right subject and verb combinations. And because we brainstorm as many different ways for us to write the description of one number, we can have a diversification of our writing structures and avoid repetition. And thanks to that preparation step, we can write faster because later on, when we put the numbers into the sentences, we don't have to think about how to avoid repetition, what structure we should write the sentence in. So because of that, we can write faster. Okay, so before you start to write, if you can prepare much, you write really smoothly and in the right way, heading to the right destination. Or else, if you have you take the first step, the preparation very lightly, you may go to the wrong direction, but you don't know. But when you look back, you don't understand something somewhere, you run out of time, you can't correct it. So the trick of IELTS writing is the management of time. Okay, so once you got it wrong and you follow that wrong direction to nearly the end of your essay, and you suddenly recognize something, you come back to correct and no time for you to do so anymore. So you got to do it right at the first time you deal with the first time you write the first sentence. Okay, so now we come to the second problem, incorrect insertion of numbers. Okay, you may find that you may want to write a full sentence, which means very beautifully having enough subject and verbs and meaning, describing all of the trends that you need to describe, and it has full meaning, but there is only one shortage. There is no number. And at that time, if you want to put the number in, you got to know the structure that allows you to have a safe insertion of numbers. Unless the convenience of putting an at with the numbers or with a number may just fail your sentence. Okay, so these are the solutions. You use a positives and you use the structure with plus subject plus verb in or ed and with the numbers. Now we come to a positive first. A positive là ngữ động vị. And then you have a with subject verb in numbers. So you to know, positive just a noun or a phrase or a clause stand beside a noun to modify for it, to make the meaning clearer. For example, the highest proportion, 89%. 89% is the highest proportion and the highest proportion is 89%. So they are two nouns standing next to each other, meaning the same thing. So you put a comma to separate them. Okay. So if you write the highest proportion is blah 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 is made by blah 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 someone doing something over here, and you miss the number, at that time you find the slot for you to insert the number in. It is right after that noun, highest proportion. Okay. The same thing in here has the highest proportion, 89%. That is a positive. Ngữ đồng vị. Danh từ nó chỉ cái phần trăm đây nè, là nó cũng là highest proportion. Mà hai cái danh từ đó bổ nghĩa cho nhau. Cái 89% và cái highest proportion là nó bổ nghĩa cho nhau. Đặt dấu phẩy chính giữa hai cái đó là xong. Okay, the second way for you to insert the number in, and this is the safe, always safe structure. It's always safe. So my worry is that you overuse this structure, and you come to having a poor structure for your grammar score just because you use it over and over and over again because it's too safe, really safe. You write from the beginning, when shopping online, electrical appliances were the items men bought the most, blah, 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 blah. You write until the end of the sentence, but you forget about the numbers. Okay, at that time, you write, I need to have a comma here. Okay. With the spending, with subjects, verb in, and numbers. With subjects, verb in, and numbers. With the number standing at blah blah blah. Okay. Most of the time you will find we have with subject and verb in, not verb ed. You use verb ed only when you have the passive voice here. Someone reduce something with the spending, with the spending cut by how many percent by the administration board, by the director board. Okay, and at that time you have to use a the verb ed here. Okay, but about 90%, 95% you got to use verb in because we don't have a passive. We rarely have passive meaning for this situation, for this position. Okay, so that one more way for you to identify if at plus number is used correctly. And, for convenience of your writing, you got to write the full sentence, and then in the end you write at a number. But if you want to be sure whether that at number is right or not, you got to have a test for it. And watch this clip now. It will show you how to test for that case. Again, I come back to my website. I have very interesting stuff over here, and I share for free there. You can just search for it and then watch it. We are looking for prepositions. The at plus numbers. Okay, over here. you got to shorten that sentence to the main subject and verb and remove every additional pieces of information. And then you add numbers in. If you find it sounds right, then you can use add plus number there. But if it sounds wrong, you can't use add plus number. Most of the time, you are clouded by the lengthy and complicated structures, and you forget about the core structure of the sentence, whether or not it is suitable with the add plus number or not. Because between the core structure and the add plus number, there are plenty of things for you, and they distract your judgment on the correct combination between the subject verbs and the add phrase. Okay, so you got to cut out all of unnecessary and the subordinating parts in the sentence, and just keep only the subject, main verb, and add plus number. If it is right, then you can use add plus number. If it's wrong, you can't use. Okay, we go to the examples here. So see, the percentage of mobile phone, blah, 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 blah. It's a very long sentence. And then you use add 80%. It may sound right, but we're not sure. We got to test it first. So we have the shortened version. The percentage was the second highest at almost 80%. It's correct. Then you can use add here. Most people use their phone at 80%. It's incomprehensible. No one understands it. Okay? Most people use their phones at 80%. When you read the whole sentence, most people use their mobile phones for texting at almost 80% throughout the period. It sounds right. It sounds so good, understandable. But actually, it doesn't mean anything. Most people use their phone at 80%. Okay, so it's wrong. We can't use that in that case. Texting was at 80%. No one understand. Texting was at 80%. So you shouldn't use it. Okay. If you have problems like that, you change the structure. Okay, you don't use, most people use the mobile phones for texting at 80%. You don't use it. You write when nearly 80% of them utilize this feature throughout the period. Or you change it in this way. So there are two ways for you to fix that sentence. Okay, so please don't just insert the numbers in at your convenience and without looking at the structure, whether or not it is compatible with the available part in the sentence. Okay, and one test for you to apply to check it out whether add plus number is suitable for inserting into the sentence is that you shorten the sentence into its core subject and verb, and then add the add plus number in to see if it fits with the remaining parts of the sentence or not. If it does, then it is right. If it does not, then you shouldn't. You have to alter, you have to change the structure to make it more understandable, like this. Okay. So that's the second problem. Any questions so far? No, no question. If you have any questions, you should text me in the chat box. So later on, I just shift to the chat box and check and give you the answers. Okay, the third problem is writing incorrect overviews. For this, global statistic of shore hotel staff, shore hotel staff from 1975 to 2010. And we have the years in the 3 columns of the staff with language qualification, the percentage of staff with language qualification, the percentage of staff speaking 2 or more languages, and the percentage of previous staff with previous work experience. Okay, now look into this and find the overview. Oh, we have numbers increase, 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 number increase, increase, number increase, decrease, increase, decrease, increase, fluctuates, blah blah blah. Okay, but from 75 and at the end of the period dropped down to only 67. Everything increased for the first 2 columns, and the numbers fluctuates but on a downward trend for the 3rd column. So that should be the main part in the overview. But how can we write it? Okay. So there are 3 ways for you to write the overview. The first way is by grouping information. So we can group like this. Generally, 2 things increases, 1 thing reduce, 1 thing drop. Okay, so these languages become more important because the percentage of staff having a qualification of the percentage of staff speaking more than 1 language. Okay, they become more, they increase in the percentage. Okay, so language become more important. Experience becomes less important because staff with previous experience drop from 75 to only 60 something, 63% or something at the end of the period. So we have language go up, experience go down. We have this as the overview. And they also compare between the number of staff speaking all the languages with the number of staff having qualifications. Okay, so they compare this column with this column, the second column with the first column, saying that the second column there are more than the first column, more people who speak 2 or more languages than having language qualifications. So they compare the first 2 columns with the 3rd one, saying language is more important and work experience is less important. And then they compare speaking of languages, ability to speak languages. The number of people can speak more than two or more languages are higher than those who possess the language qualification. Okay, so they come up to that overview. But there is another way for you to write the overview. You write this way. By grouping information, you group the first and the second columns, saying that the language standard, you got to name them, right? You got to name the two columns. One is the percentage of people possessing language qualification. So it's about language qualification possession. And the other is the ability to speak 2 languages or more. We group 2 of them into one category and we name them language standard. So they have the degree, they have the certificate, and also they can speak. It's about language standards. Language standards increase, experience decrease. Okay. So that is another way for us to write the overview. When we group information and we name our grouping. Here we have language standards versus experience. Language standards on the rise versus experience on the way down. See? That's the first way to identify overviews. And this is also for grouping information. We see that the red bar, the red bar is higher, red bar is lower, 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 lower. So the majority of the majors here witness the number of females lower than that of males. Okay, except for natural sciences and linguistics. So we group the majors that have the red bars higher than the green bar into one group. We have linguistics, red bar higher than green bar. Now red bar done. That's all. Red bar lower than green bar, red bar lower than green bar, the same. So we group these 4 into one group and the other 2 into another group, saying red bar is higher or equal to green bar. See? So we have 2 groups. One is higher, one is red bar lower, and the other group is red bar higher or equal to green bar. That's why we can come up with the overview like this. Psychology and natural sciences attract the most research students. Okay, that's right? Because they are prominent players in this chart, so we gotta identify them, point them out as the outstanding majors that attract the most students of both genders. But after that, we group them. The number of females were consistently lower than those of male students in most majors, 4 majors, except for natural sciences and linguistics. And we're done with the overview. Okay, so the grouping here means that you have to find the similarities among the majors. And here the similarity is that the number of females taking part in the majors, enrolling in the majors, is lower than that of males. And that similarity is shared among the psychology, engineering, programming, and mathematics major. So we group them into one group. And the other, we group them into another group. Okay, so by grouping, you can separate into 2 groups and you say the majority of them will have the red bar lower than the green bars, but except for those two. Okay. Doing so, you can have a good overview. There's a second way for you to identify the overviews is by adding numbers together and compare them. So we have this hybrid car sales by region. How can you find the overview for this? We have, okay, the red column go up, up, and up, and up. The green go up, up, and up. But the blue up, down, down, down. Okay, so now we have which market is the predominant market in hybrid car sales? Can you tell me by looking at this chart and tell me which is the predominant market, which is the biggest market in hybrid car sale in the world? No answer? The USA, right? The USA's number is always high. Even though it fluctuates, when you add all of the numbers all together from 2006 into 2010, the number of cars sold by the USA was the largest. Okay, so you write like this: despite the fluctuation in US hybrid car sales compared to continuous expansion in Asia and European markets, we state that for the red and the green bars, they are belonging to the continuous upward trend, or expansion. Okay, and then fluctuation in the US trend, in the US market. That's one thing. US market fluctuates. The other two markets increase non-stop. And the second part of the overview is you add numbers all together and compare. The US still record higher sales than the other countries combined over the period. You have to add, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars, 5 blocks, right? This 1 block, 2 block, 3 block, 4 block, 5 block. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Okay. And then you count 1, 2. So they offset for each other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It means that you count the red one and the green one all together and compare with the 29 blocks of the blue bar, and still see that they makes up only 27 or 28 blocks. So when you add all of the numbers here together throughout the timeline, you still see that there is a predominance of the US market over the two other markets put together. Em cộng dồn tất cả cái con số của hai market kia lại, nó cũng không bằng con số của US market luôn. So when you claim that the US market has the greatest car sales throughout the period, you don't know how much greater they are when compared with other markets. But when you add the numbers and then compare, then the comparison is much more vivid. Okay, so adding numbers throughout the timeline and compare with other numbers is also one other way that you can write the overview. One idea that you can add in the overview, and it means it signifies, it makes it more descriptive, the relative comparisons of the volume of sales of these three markets. Okay, so it means something and it will be appreciated in the overview. That's the second way, adding numbers together. And this is the third way. The third way is used for only for mixed charts or combined charts. So stuff like this. So you have the number of hospital beds per thousand of the population in Japan, Netherlands, United States, and a lot of other countries. So you got to describe the first bar chart first. Then you come to the second chart, which is a table. And in the table, you have only the figures of 3 countries, Japan, the Netherlands, and the United States. So we have to compare the first bar graph and the table. Okay, you see Japan, high number of beds per thousand of the population, highest, okay, highest number of beds, lowest spending per person, and the highest average life expectancy. And then Netherlands ranked second among the three highlighted here. Netherlands the second, having the middle health spending per person and the middle longevity or life expectancy. And the US having the lowest number of beds per 1,000 of the population, spend the most on each person for medical cost, and having the lowest life expectancy. So we have the more, the less, the more, right? The more, the less, the more, the less. See? So we come up with this overview. The more hospital beds there are for every 1,000 citizens, the less people spend on their health. The more hospital beds there are, the less they spend on their health, and the longer they live. So that is a correlation between the 2 charts that we need to figure out. And there are some correlations, like it's easy to see that the higher the education level women has, the lower the birth rate of the country is. Okay? The more women is educated, the lower the birth rate of the country is. Something like that. Okay, so that is in the case that we can figure out the correlation between the 2 charts. What if we can't find any correlation at all? It goes, okay, the seasons with a lot of rain, okay, and in last year there's a lot of rain and we have a lot of rice. This year we still have a lot of rain, but the rice output drops, and the next year we don't have rain, the rice output increased. Another year there's a lot of rain again, and the rice output increased again. So if there is no pattern for the correlation, for the a direct ratio, right, going up together or going down together or going opposite, if they don't have such a pattern for development, we can't have the correlation in the overview. But at that time, we will write the overview by writing the overview for the first chart and then writing the overview for the second chart. Okay, where should you write the overview? In that case, the overview can go stick to the body paragraph of the first chart. When you finish the description of that first chart, you can write the overview right there at the end of that the description for that chart. Because in some case, if you move the overview for that chart description down to the bottom, people will forget the information of the first chart. And then when they read again the overview at the bottom, which is very distracted by the information from the second chart, they lose touch. They have to check back, and that will harm your logical logical organization or coherence. Okay, so in case that you find out that the second chart is too complicated to describe and there is no relationship between the two charts, the overview for the first chart should be written right after you finish describing the first chart. Okay, now why do we call it an overview, not a conclusion? It is because we can put the overview as the second sentence in the introduction. You write the introduction and then you full stop and overall or in general, and you write the overview right in the introduction. It's acceptable. Okay, or you can break it into the first paragraph of the body and write it there. It's also acceptable. Or you want to leave it until the end of the paragraph of the essay, it's still acceptable. That's why we don't call it a conclusion. We call it an overview because there are plenty of positions which you can insert that overview in. As long as you have that overview, you gain a full mark. Okay, regardless of where you put them. That's it. Writing incorrect overview is done. There are three ways. There are three ways for writing correct overviews. The first one is the grouping of information. And the second is adding in the numbers together and compare. And the third way is figuring out the correlation between two charts or among different charts in a mixed graph. I think I should show you a clip that I made about grouping information. First, and the second is about selecting the striking features, because some of you asked me about what information you should write and what information you should ignore, and there will be a clip about that. So I show you two clips now before we move on to two last problems in writing task 1. The first clip is about grouping information. How do you group information, especially for overview writing? Okay. I show you where it is. This is my website, and it is in writing practice. We have it here. Grouping information. Grouping information. Okay, grouping items for overviews. Okay. The second clip is about striking features. Which feature should you choose to describe? Striking features. Yeah. Okay, so we have a list of the striking features, the highest, lowest, the trends, okay, the starting point, the ending points, and any numbers in middle when we have fluctuation, and then equal numbers, and the two lines intersect somewhere, so it reached the equality somewhere in some year, or they have the same starts, or they have the same end. Need to indicate that equality of the numbers. So the third is the equal numbers. The fourth is the missing number or number 0. The fifth is the fastest change. Something increase slightly, and then suddenly it just rocketed. So the fastest increase was developed in which year to which year. You gotta describe it as the striking feature. And also the last point is the greatest difference. So you have the difference between the two items, 30, 30, 40, 50, and then difference goes to 80. So you gotta mention the imbalance between the two items in a particular category. Okay, so those are the main items. In any charts and graphs, you screen all of those 6 main points into the charts and graphs. Sometimes you recognize 2 main points, sometimes you recognize 3, sometimes 4. Okay, sometimes it's just simply the highest lowest point in the trend. That's it. Sometimes you have highest lowest trend equal numbers, and then fastest change. Sometimes you have fastest change equal numbers in the trends. That's it. Okay, so you screen these all 6 features into whatever task that you receive, and you recognize a point in them, and you count how many points are there that you want to describe, how many points are there that you recognize, and you count the number of sentences that you have to write those points, and whether or not they are important to bring up, or you just ignore them. And at that time, you have a list of the selection. Which point should be mentioned and which point should be ignored because of the less importance in that particular question. So that will vary from one question to another because we have a limited number of words you should write in task 1. You can't write 250, 300 words, right? So you gotta get rid of something. And in that very particular case, you decide to choose this and that just because those 3 points are more important than the 4th one. They may have the 4th one, but it is not as important as the first 3. Okay, but at least you gotta have the ideas about what they are or whether or not you can recognize them in the chart. By screening these 6 features into whatever chart that you receive, you can have the recognition of what's important to describe. Okay, and those are for the grouping of information and the identification of striking features for writing. I gotta go through this quickly. Improper time management. I ask you, is it reasonable to write task 1 in more than 20 minutes? Say 20 minutes. Is that okay? I'm not sure that I get back to the main. Okay, here it is. Guys, do you think it is reasonable? It is acceptable to write task 1 in more than 20 minutes? Right, in 25 minutes, is that okay? This is a yes, no question, guys. Could I have your voice, please?
I think yes.
Why? Why do you say so?
Because I think, well, if you rush, I see that before we write anything, we have to like outline a bit first, or brainstorm a bit first. If we rush too much, then the quality of the writing is gonna diminish.
Okay. It varies from one question to another, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say we need around 20 to 25 minutes to write task 1. Or what about writing task 2 before task 1? Should we?
I think task 2 are way more complicated than task 1. Task 1 usually is about organizing the chart and summarizing the chart, but in task 2 it requires a bit more imagination, so I think it's harder. We should do that first.
Actually, it's contrary.
Really?
It's yeah, it's opposite of what you say. In task 2, you write really quickly. For task 2, some of us write in only 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and we finish it.
Oh.
But task 1, some of us write 30 minutes and we haven't finished it. Even the experienced writer, they may spend ages.
Well, what's the theme of task 2 again? What kind of question they usually give us?
No, we don't talk about task 2 now. We focus on task 1.
Okay.
Task 2 will be for another workshop or so. It's not now. But I mean that gotta depend on the complexity and the amount of data in task 1. Sometimes they give you a table which has 50 numbers in there, 40 numbers, 35 numbers in there, and you find that the numbers are so different. You can't remove them. You can't ignore them because they are quite the same. If you ignore this number, you need to ignore the other numbers as well. So there is no contrast among what should be reported and what should not. Right? In that case, you have to describe so many numbers, and then it goes to 200, 250 words for task 1. So it depends on the complexity and the amount of information. And also, it's advisable to write task 1 after task 2. And you gotta hurry up in task 2. But if you can't be hurry up in task 2, you end up writing task 2 in 40 minutes as required. And you do it well in task 2 already. You fulfill your requirements of the test for task 2. And at that time, you have only 20 minutes or 18 minutes or even 17 minutes for task 1. If you miss something in task 1, your mark will not be very severely deducted. And because the weighting of task 2 is more than task 1, okay? One more reason is because in task 1, you have many striking features. So if you don't have enough time to write, you miss 1 or 2 striking features, it's okay. It's still okay. But if you miss the conclusion of task 2 due to the lack of time, you'll be, right? The whole test will be ruined by lacking only 30 seconds or 1 minute for writing the final sentence for task 2. But for task 1, you find that, okay, there are 6 striking features and you do not have enough time to cover them all. So you write 5 only, and then you go to the overview. You miss 1 striking feature. That's also acceptable. But when you are put under the pressure of time for writing task 1, you will have more selection of what you should report and what you should leave out. At that time, your screening of the striking features will be more rigid, will be more stringent, more strict. Okay, and then you can do it better. Under that constraint of time, with that limited number of minutes that you've got to finish, maybe it's not 20 minutes, but it's only 17, 16 minutes. Still, you can find a way to do task 1. But you gotta write it hastily, and you gotta report only the very main ideas. Okay, so my advice to you is that you should write task 2 first. If you write task 1 first, you say that, okay, now I shouldn't rush. I gotta think very carefully for coming up with a very a comprehensive overview, and I would describe everything in the striking features I could figure out. And then when you check the time, it's 30 minutes, and you have only 30 more minutes for writing task 2. It's not enough, and then severely affects the final score because task 2 has more weighting than task 1. Okay, just as experience that I share with you. You can take it or leave it. But when you do the test practice, you will know there is some truth in what I say. Okay, that's one more thing that I want to notice is for the improper time management, your mindset for your judgment about the difficulty level of the test will affect the efficacy of your time use, of your time management. If you see the test is so easy, task 1 and task 2, there's nothing new to you, okay? So you put yourself into the relaxing mode. We just move slowly, and we are sure that we can manage it well. And if you have that underestimation about the difficulty level of the test, you might have to pay a very dear price for it. Okay, so for improper time management, there is one more thing that you should consider. Always respect the questions and think it is not easy. Okay, don't underestimate the question, or else you will fail in your time management. It's just a psychological fact. When you are too relaxing with your mind, you can't focus much. And next, low writing fluency is your problem, and here's the solution. You find that if there's not enough time for you to write 2 tasks, you write too slowly, you have things in your head but you can't jot them down on the paper. Okay, you gotta apply these techniques. First, stop thinking that task 1 is hard. and you allow yourself to have more than 20 minutes to write it in your test practice at home. You gotta break your limits. You gotta overcome yourself to achieve more fluency. Okay, so you gotta to practice to reduce your writing time for task 1 down to 19, 18, 17, even 15, or even to 10 minutes. You gotta reduce it to the maximum. Okay, and when you write it in like 15 minutes, you'll find, oh, it's possible to do so, but you need to practice, and you need to be aware of the necessity for doing so. Because when you write at home, you write 100 tests. You go to the test room, it's still, you still make silly mistakes there. But so if you can improve your writing fluency, you can write faster at home, and that fast speed of your writing may be counteracted, may be neutralized by some other factors in the exam rooms due to your nervousness, or due to the strange exam questions, or due to the complexity of the data, or the very huge amount of information of the data that would just require you to write a lot, not because you are having a laxing mind, not because you don't have a concentration, but because the task requires you to write so long. Okay, in that case, if you write fast, you can still write long and meet the time targets. So reduce your writing time in your practice at home. And the third and very important advice is to improve your writing fluency is to rewrite old tasks and set the time limits for you to reduce the time that you need to write to improve your writing speed. Okay, I think that's all for today. Do you have any questions?
Sure, I have a question. If we are able to write task 1 in like 10 minutes, then is it possible to write task 2 in 5 minutes? Because it's easier.
25 minutes. It's possible to write task 2.
Oh,
Possible.
okay, thank you, sir.
And though you may find it not very satisfactory, the product is not very well polished, but you have good introduction, you have a good conclusion, you have good paragraphing, and though the ideas there are not very fully supported, you know, still you can do it in 25 minutes.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Any more questions, guys? So it's 4 o'clock now, and it's 2 hours since we started the workshop. And I think that you are very very tired now already. And me too, I have talked a lot. So if you have any questions, you can raise in the post of Open University. And my name is Nguyễn Xuân Minh. I will make a comment there. If you have any more questions, just post it there, so we can have a follow-up of this workshop, and can answer more of your questions later on. Okay. Any more questions? No? If no, then we should wrap up our workshop now, and hopefully I can give you something useful for your preparation for the IELTS test. And I wish you all very successful studies, work, internship, IELTS preparation, your academic studies, whatsoever you have in Open University and around you in your life. Have a successful student life also, and hope to see you sometime in the future. Bye bye, guys.
Bye, sir.